The following program is a presentation of the Ohio School Boards Association.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the OSBA Forum, where we bring you timely updates and insights and conversations to support Ohio school board members and educational leaders. I'm your host, Mark Bobo, and today we are thrilled to introduce someone who has and will continue to play a major role in shaping public education in our great state. It's my privilege today to introduce to you Mr. Tom Hosler, who on September 1 officially became the new CEO for the Ohio School Boards Association. Tom has been a school superintendent for 25 years, and most recently spending 18 years as a superintendent of Perrysburg Exempted Village School District. Tom, welcome to the forum and welcome to OSBA.
Well, thanks, Mark. It's an honor to be here. So thank you for the kind words.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. So listen, let's just jump right in. You've been here for a few weeks now. I believe we talked about it yesterday. This is week number 4.
Yes, correct.
So you're still here, and we're glad to have you here.
Yeah. You guys haven't asked me to leave, so the feeling is mutual.
Yes. And so how's the transition been so far? How are you getting acclimated to the city? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So, it's an interesting place to be. Somebody who has used and looked at OSBA as kind of that beacon, as a way, as a guide for so many years, to be now on the other side of that. And I think that what I have found here is what I would expect from this organization. I mean, 70 years, the anniversary at the Capitol Conference, celebrating just that voice. And the people that are here, that are in this building, that are doing the work, that are out in the field, have really shown me how amazing they are. When you think about all the different voices that are out there when it comes to education, OSBA has always been that one voice. It's like the original. Yeah. And so the people that are here have worked so hard to put us into this position that it's been an honor to see just a little bit behind the scenes what it takes to be that voice, to connect with so many school districts, over 700 boards that are members, and that is an awesome responsibility. Yeah. So it's a little daunting.
Well, we're certainly excited to have you here, and just allow me to step back just a little bit.
Yep.
So 18 years in Perrysburg,
right?
That says a lot about your leadership. I just asked, when you look back on your time there in Perrysburg, what are you most proud of that work that you were able to do there?
Yeah, I mean, so as a school superintendent for 25 years, it is it's hard to think back about what that is and all the different kinds of things. And starting out in Downriver Detroit, I know in that community, those connections, seeing the students making a difference in their lives and the families and how we were able to support them. That's something I was very proud of. It was a kind of a blue collar community, and we passed the first bond issue and first levy in over 20 years. So to get the community to support that was incredible. And then coming to Perrysburg in Northwest Ohio, seeing the students and the success that they had. We were a district that went from 4,300 students when I began to almost 6,000 when I left a few months ago. But able to maintain that focus, that closeness, that sense of community, to have staff and our administrators and the faculty, everyone working together under that single mission during those years, and the growth and the changes, I think that's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Talk more about the community support and how important that is, and maybe even some strategies on how you galvanize a community to support your local schools.
Yeah. So I think, it's kind of what's happening here. And I know you and I were out, in Crestline yesterday together, meeting with board members, meeting with superintendents and treasurers, and getting introduced to staff there. And it's the same principle, I think, that OSBA does here, which is, we need to be partners. And how are you partners? You listen to their needs and what has worked and what have been the successes and what have been the challenges. And you and I asked the question, what keeps you up at night as a board member?
Yes.
And we heard firsthand, especially among the smaller districts, what is that thing? What are those things that are keeping them up at night? And our drive home, we reflected on, there's a lot of things keeping our board members up at night right now. And so we're worried about them and that compassion and making them feel like they're being heard. And those are the same kinds of things that you do in a local community too.
Yeah, when you talk about those many challenges, you're stepping into a role, I think we can both agree, at a very challenging time. Right. Yeah, and as you said, as we talk to board members and they talk about the needs, even the superintendents and other directors of the part of the educational team, the challenges are varied, but there are many. But how do you see OSBA growing as a resource to begin to, I would just say, to continue to speak to those challenges, but how do you see us growing as a resource in that manner?
Right. So for 70 years, OSBA has been that one voice. It's the one voice that represents all school districts. And we know there are organizations out there that represent different aspects or different types of school districts or different types of employees, but OSBA has been that voice, and that's an incredible run. And I think people still look for that excellence. They look for that unification that comes from being a member of OSBA. But I think moving forward, we think about what that next 70 years is going to look like. What do members need in 3 years from us? Where will members be in 5 years from us? And how do we position ourselves to be able to deliver what boards need then? We live in a time right now where public schools are being reimagined right before our very eyes. And I think OSBA has to be prepared to innovate with purpose. And I think that's very important to us as we look at the future and engaging boards where they are today and where they need to go tomorrow. OSBA doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room, but we have to be the most trusted voice. And we have, state leaders, community leaders, national leaders who are looking for, that voice. And I think that is going to be an important role for us. And how do we gain that trust? It's by understanding exactly what our boards are experiencing and what they need from us, and what, most importantly, our students need from us. Kindergartners today are graduating the class of 2038.
Wow.
And I'll just pause on that because that's a long way off, and who knows where we'll all be. But we know where those students are going to be. They're going to be relying on the decisions that we're making today, and they're going to be relying on the decisions our leaders are making today. And I think we have to provide the forum for those different ideas to come together and to talk about what's important for the 1.6 million students in Ohio. Because if we're not setting the table for those discussions, and I know you do a great job of that, Mark, who is going to do that? And I think that's an important role for us to take in the future.
Tom, you said innovate with purpose. I love that. When you're looking at, as you said, 700 different school districts, how do you see, well, I'll put it like this. When you look at the school board, what role do you see them playing in that student's life that's graduating in 2038? And at the same time, how do you encourage all these districts to think of innovating with purpose beyond being held back by what challenges may be there?
Right. Yeah, there's a couple ways to kind of look at that. And I think, as a former school superintendent, I think board members have an awesome responsibility. And sometimes it isn't until they've been at it for a while or even off the board that they see those connections, because those board members made me do a better job as a superintendent. They ask those questions that they're hearing from the community. They're bringing that perspective, those life experiences to the table, and that is what makes us better. And so when you think about setting the bar, setting the expectations, being that community voice behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, is essential. Right now, we talk about board members and the weight that they're carrying, and I think that's something that kind of leads into this. And that weight is, we're living in a very diverse state, diverse communities in terms of thought, in terms of income, in terms of everything. And right now, once or twice a month, board members are at a board meeting. There's opportunity for residents to come in, to look board members in the eye, and demand accountability. There aren't gerrymandered school board districts. There aren't primaries that are partisan.
Right.
And this is really the purest form of democracy that we have in the state, that I would argue. And whether they're in aisle 13 at the local grocery store, at the ball fields, under the Friday night lights, in the church parking lot, community members are interested and families are interested in saying, what's happening with the schools and what decisions are you making? And you can't hide. Yeah. And that's a weight. But we also know that weight gives us that strength as board members across the state, because nobody knows the answer to those questions other than the board. And that is the beauty and the power that boards have today. So as OSBA, how do we take all of those individual conversations, all of those things that are happening in every one of those districts, and bring those voices together like a choir, and be able to get the tenor, the soprano, the bass, all those joining together, because those differences brings that harmony forward. And I think that's really essential to us as we look at our role and what board members bring, and trying to get boards to have those different voices, those different pitches, to be able to sing what that song that community needs is essential for us. So,
it's amazing. Even as we're having this discussion, you being a lover of music just organically comes out. And we're going to touch on that in a moment. But I want to bring you back to something you particularly said about how your board made you a better superintendent. That was a very powerful statement. When you look at board member superintendent relations, can you offer some insights on how best, as a school board member, I can help my superintendent be their best?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a two-way street, because I think it is one, listening. And I know I've said, stepping into this role at OSBA, I was given 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. And I think that's a great ratio to kind of step into situations, because you need to understand the history, the context, and how things work, and then be able to offer those kinds of suggestions. So I think that's really important for board members to understand, to value things, because I've had board members that have come on with one set of ideas who, once they've gotten there, have said, this was a lot different than what I expected. I had no idea that all of this was involved. So I think being open is really important. Superintendent, someone who has been a superintendent for 25 years, I admitted that I don't know it all. And certainly you've been elected and you're coming in with ideas and thoughts, and I appreciate and value that input. And how can we get that input in a way that is going to move us forward in a positive direction? And I think understanding how can we do that, because I think sometimes people come in thinking, well, this, being elected to the board is being like elected to city council or Congress. And it's such a different kind of animal.
Right.
And I know, OSBA does a great job of working through that. And so I think being open, offering that honest feedback, I like it, not always in the moment, that the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. Where we're saying, here's where I think we have a blind spot as a school district, as an operation, as an administrator. And I think those conversations coming from a place of trust, coming from a place centered around what can we do to that kindergartner to make their experience better. And I think when those kinds of conditions happen, I think there is real success and growth in a school district. And so I think that is how it makes me better. The board presidents that I've worked with in the past, we've had that kind of trust, that kind of relationship, and that's essential to that growth. And in terms of, I really think this is where we need to go, and help me understand where we've been, and it's that partnership.
I think, Tom, even as we've had this discussion and previous discussions we've had, I've gotten this sense of the importance of personal connection from you. Right. And, as I said, being a lover of music, you mentioned in one of our conversations, you have some type of connection with singer-songwriter Bruce Hornsby. Is that right?
I wish I had a better connection, but it's actually with my son. So Bruce Hornsby was a popular, still popular to me, but popular in the 80s, early 90s. The Way It Is was a 1986, 87 song that I thought was a #1 hit. And so my son was a student at Highland Elementary in Sylvania, Ohio. They had a class assignment where they had to write a letter, to a celebrity or somebody. So he was going to write to an NBA star, and we talked about it. And I said, well, they're on the road, and you're probably not going to get a response. And as parents, we torture our children. We strap them in the back of our vehicles. Yeah. We put on our music, and they can't escape. They can't turn it down. They can't reach the knob. So he got a steady dose of Bruce Hornsby. Unfortunately, he liked his music too. And Bruce Hornsby had two twins, two boys who were very good athletes. One was a basketball player, played at LSU. Oh, wow. The other ran track for the University of Oregon, which is like going to Ohio State as a football player. It's like the premier place. And those were my son's two favorite sports. So he was aware of that. So he wrote a letter to Bruce Hornsby. So one day I came home from work, and my wife said, I need to talk to you. Guess who I got a phone call from today? And I said, who? And she said, Bruce Hornsby. He got our son's letter. Harrison wrote him a letter, and he wants to call tomorrow, and he wanted to make sure it was okay. And so the next day, we're sitting down to dinner, and the phone rings, and it's Harrison, it's for you. And it was Bruce Hornsby. And they had a great conversation. He's a very sincere person. And then we were attending a concert. We'd already gotten tickets in the Columbus area, the All Good Music Festival. And he was performing there, and we got to meet him before. And to Bruce's credit, he has stayed in contact through the years with my son. During COVID, my son was a 2020 graduate, called to see how he was doing and what it was like. And we saw him most recently in Akron after one of the shows. And he's a terrific musician, great songwriter, and a terrific human being too. So that's great.
Yeah, and I'm sure your son enjoys that relationship. But again, that personal connection makes a difference. So when you're talking to fellow leaders, and I often say to our school board members, you're a leader sitting in that seat. So speaking to leaders, what perspective would you share in regards to their journey of service and making that personal connection from the seat of their leadership?
Right. So when you think about leadership, like in a school setting, with boards of education, I think the most, it's kind of a three-legged stool we like to talk about. You have your board, you have your staff, and the community. And, school treasurers and superintendents, that is an important relationship. And I like to say that it's an arranged marriage.
Yes, indeed.
Because we can't pick each other. No. So you have to work very hard. And I know the organizations, BASA, OSBA, do a wonderful job of preparing them. And I think getting those relationships on board is important. And I think boards have to continue to grow those relationships. And then those relationships with board members are essential. So kind of speaking about that kind of trinity, that triad, I think it's essential that, that expectations are clear, that there is that connection and understanding. You want to see everyone succeed, and you're really part of a team. And I think that's what board service is a little bit different than other things, is that to be successful, you really have to have that team. You have to have that treasurer. You have to have the superintendent, and you have to have those board leaders, working together, going in that same direction. And that's a little different than maybe some of the other institutions that people are expecting. But it takes so much work to get there. And I know we really valued the OSBA workshops and retreats where we could sit down, with members of the team here and talk about why did I run for school board? Right. And keeping that in the forefront of our minds, and how can I help contribute? How can my voice as a member, be amplified and join with the others here in that chorus that we need to be successful? And so I think that's one of the exciting things that drew me to this work, is that there are leaders that are hungry for that kind of work, and building those relationships, I think, are more important than ever. And as things are getting harder and harder to find those common threads, I think we still have to reach out, find them, and weave them into that tapestry that makes Ohio such a great place to live and to learn. But it's that reflective piece, and those retreats that we do often provide those moments, because you don't have many opportunities, as you know,
so true,
as boards, to sit down and talk to each other in that kind of a setting. And I know we're really fine-tuning what we're doing in that world and in that realm to provide even more help and support and give board members those tools to be more successful moving forward.
So as we come to a close time, I'd like for you to share, just your heart in regards to your vision for OSBA and what our membership can expect here in the coming months and days.
Right. So I think one thing, and I wanted to make sure I have it here, that our vision at OSBA is leading the way as a respected voice of Ohio public education. It's 11 words, but I think those 11 words are more important today than perhaps they've ever been. Because when you talk about leading the way and you talk about boards and where they are in their communities, we need them leading the way for those that kindergartner is relying on them. And we know every board member comes to a board seat with the desire to make it a better place than it was before. So that leading the way is important, and as an organization, we want to do that. So I think it's important for us to define what that looks like as a board member, as an organization. That respected voice, not the loudest, not the angriest, but the most respected. And I think we need to continue to take steps to do that. So whether it's in your community, whether it's in the State House, or 2 weeks ago we were in Washington, D.C. in the Capitol, OSBA, people look to us to be that respected voice. And we have to earn that respect, and we have to have our members prepared to answer that call. So I think for me, it is those connections, it is using the network that we have, it is listening to where board members and communities are today, where they're going to be tomorrow, and what we have to do to prepare ourselves as an organization to meet them there. We know that it's more than just services. And we provide great services like we were just talking about, but also we are that voice, and we have to keep everyone together as we talk about what public education needs to look at. And Mark, we were talking just moments ago before we went on the air, the first, on record schoolhouse down in Marietta. And we understand that in 1790s, when this was started, there was a promise of public education and what it means today. And I think the state has done a wonderful job of keeping that promise. And I think our board members have had a huge role in delivering on that promise. But I think we need to talk about what public education and what that promise means today. For those members of the class of 2038, what promises are we making to them today? And I think if I can help be part of that conversation to help support you and your team and all the other teams that are here, and allowing for those conversations to happen, I think that's going to be really important for us to have that thoughtful conversation, because we have to embrace those diverse thoughts, and that's what's made us stronger. And I think we have to continue to fight for those Ohio children. And what I mean by fight is a sense of always bringing back the conversations that we're having, whether it's about property tax reform, it's about busing, or anything else, bringing it back to what is going to make a difference for those students' lives. And when we see them graduate, walk across the stage, and I know that's a big deal for board members, and it should be, what have you done as a board member to make that experience that much better? And I think that's what we're all about, is answering the call. We don't want to be only getting calls when boards are in trouble. We want to be their first call when they want to get better. And that's what our organization wants to be. And that's what we're here for. So I hope that's it. And I'm learning a lot, and it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to work with you and so many others here at OSBA. When I had an opportunity to pull the curtain back and take a look behind, it's everything that I thought it would be by such a dedicated group of people. There aren't many people that wake up thinking about how can I make a difference for 1.6 million Ohio public school students. But our staff does that, and that is awesome.
Yes, and Tom, on behalf of myself and the entire staff, we're excited to have you here and appreciate, even in the short times you've been here, just excited for where we're going and the work that we'll be able to do together. So thank you for your time today and sharing your feedback and your insights, and we're looking forward to a promising future here at OSBA. As always, we thank our viewers for being a part of today's conversation. We hope that you've gleaned some insights from our new leader. Stay connected with us for more conversations and updates as we help you serve your communities and your students. As always, continue to do well, continue to be there for the students, and look forward to being back with us here on the OSBA Forum.